Good morning, everyone. Like every business, e-commerce is about acquiring customers, serving customers, and retaining customers. These are three main activities every company is doing as such. So as a key element of that is to understand the mechanism behind. I mean, how do you perform basically on these three activities? Are you able to acquire customers in a cost-effective way? Are you have big enough reach as such? You're able to give a good service in terms of your offering, in terms of customer support and service. Are you able to retain customers? A business which has no retention will be very hard to make it sustainable in the long term. Retention is the key element for a successful, long-term, healthy financial company. I think this is how business works. One major benefit you have as an e-commerce company is availability of data. But data in itself is not enough. You have to put data into a context. You have to apply it. You have to execute on it. You have to make it actionable. So from that point of view, we at BeCommerce are creating the guide as a reference point for all of you to see where do you stand today. So every company, all of you have to check your own position. How do you perform? You might do very good or not so good, but first of all, to measure where you stand, to understand where you stand is a starting position. That's what you want to know about yourself. The second element you want to know is how do you progress? If you compare over time, and like Sophie was saying, this is 6th edition, so you can even compare with data that we have and information from BeCommerce, but also your own data is, are you moving forward or backward relative to your own performance? That's the second big element in understanding your performance. The third element, where we also help you with the guide, is to compare your performance against your competition or alternatives. I mean, where do you stand in the landscape? Are you doing better or worse? So that's the third element. And the last element is, how do you compare yourself with the best of class? Not to, because sometimes best of class on a global level, I mean, if we say e-commerce, we think about Alibaba or Amazon, which is sometimes light years ahead as such, but is to have an indication like how far away are they and what you can learn from them. That's the idea behind. Once again, you don't have to be big to be great as such. Now, if you take these four elements, your absolute position, your progress, your relative position, and your best-in-class performance, comparing that, you know pretty much where you stand as a company, and that you can make actionable in order to improve your own performance, see where you can improve on acquisition, your service level, and also your retention. That's, to me, the methodology behind. The beauty of it is that BeCommerce and the guide is providing you a lot of data. The data in itself is always open for discussion. People say yes, but there's always a but to explain why they're performing less in certain elements. But one data point says nothing. It's just a proxy for what is happening. The data is public, which means that often your own data is more accurate, but because it's public and you can have an indication of everybody else, it gives a very good overview of the landscape as such. That's the beauty of it. It's a starting point to guide you in the landscape of e-commerce. It's also to give you new insights as a company about yourself and competition. It's to give you the big perspective for all possible elements included in your performance. And lastly, we want you to be inspired and make an action based on that and execute on it. And I think, Sophie, in the future, we can do deep dives or workshops around the subject to help companies even to perform better.
Yeah, that's absolutely a good idea to get a little more focus groups. Right now, because it's a working tool, so of course it gives a lot of the book can be used from different perspectives to give you an idea what the industry is about in Belgium. But of course it's the idea that we do it because we care about the whole industry and we want the industry to move on. We saw this huge progress in e-commerce, but we all have to admit that Belgium took a bit had a little bit delay. And we cannot deny that we missed this train 20 years ago. but the window is still open and it's never late to step up the game. And that's actually why we think it's important. On the one hand, BeCommerce is doing this market monitor study where we put the expenses of the consumers in e-commerce, but this tool is for the web shops. This tool is really to give an instrument to the web shops to improve their performance, so that we can also measure that side. Because of course we all know the consumer was ready 20 years ago and he started buying online. Just our own entrepreneurs were not ready. And so this book really gives a tool to all our entrepreneurs to be inspired by exactly what Omar said, the world best in class. You know what? If you look on the top 10, these are all foreign players. We have Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, Netflix, Samsung, Amazon, AliExpress, IKEA, H&M, Zara. And then these are just the top 10. But then each category is inspired by their world in class, and that you can see in the dashboard. In the middle of the book, you can open it and you see exactly, for instance, for media and entertainment, the best in class is yahoo.com. And then you can see yourself how your digital footprint is compared to someone who does the job perfect, but you can also see it compared to your own competitors within Belgium. So the tool is really to improve your own performance, to in the end serve the customer better, because that's what it's all about. It's always about this customer. It's always about serving his needs and making his journey fantastic. And this is what this Shopping100 is absolutely about. Improving your digital performance with the idea to serve the customer better. And if you're going to serve the customer better, you're going to have higher revenues, you're going to have a better performance. I want to actually, I think it's time also to give a little bit the floor to Ken to speak us about other tools they can use to improve their performance in the e-commerce. And I'm talking about payment. As some of you might have seen, we had several campaigns running this weekend. We had, of course, our Facebook Live for explaining this project already a bit. That's reached 23,000 people, and that had 2,500 true plays. But we also had our campaign to thank the e-payment sector, because there's no e-commerce without e-payment. It was important to have a partner as bpost, because it's obviously there's no e-commerce without the logistic side, without the fulfillment, without the last mile side. But there was definitely also no e-commerce without e-payment. And if there are no innovations within the payment industry, then e-commerce also stands status quo. So please, I want to give the floor to Ken to explain us a little bit, to brief also a little bit more about the latest developments in the e-payment.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sophie. So I'll give a quick introduction about Molly first, and then I'll speak about a couple of trends that we see, and also solutions that we think web shops can do to optimize their revenues, because in the end that's what we're here to do. Is it useful if I share slides or on the screen, or what's best?
Sure.
Yeah,
you can share your screen and put on your camera. By all means, please go ahead. I will turn off my camera. That's maybe also.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
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 Excellent.
Yeah, I can see it.
Cool. Perfect. And I don't know how I can't switch on my video, but that doesn't matter. So, yes, that's me. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Molly. Molly is an online payments service provider, founded in 2004 in the Netherlands. And since several years, we also active in the Belgian market, where we have a significant market share. I think very many of the new web shops, they start with Molly because we were really easy to work with. And you can see that in the numbers. We're trusted by 80,000 companies. We process about 1 billion payments every month, and also we've seen like 100% year-on-year growth, partly driven indeed by what we've seen in the last couple of weeks since Corona, where indeed I fully agree that we have gained a couple of years on the trend to, let's say, offline to online conversion. So staying on top of the game, supported by data, understanding how your business is doing, we also see that as absolutely critical to be successful. So this is what we do. We simplify payments. So if you think about some of the pain points that you experience or that your shoppers experience, it's typical that at the end of the process, there's a lot of dropouts. And that's something that we actively manage. But we also make it very simple for you as a web shop and also for your developers and your agencies to integrate Molly. So you can set up an account in Molly literally in minutes and start transacting. And in the end, it's our mission to help our customers grow, to help our customers be successful. If our customers grow, obviously Molly grows as well. So a couple of things we see. So we, as I mentioned before, our mission is to help improve your revenues by increasing the acceptance of more consumers on your website, but also like increasing the conversion so that more consumers who start the journey also complete the payment. There's a lot of cost and time saving because it's easy to integrate Molly. We provide brilliant service, so you don't have to worry about that one. Data, as was mentioned before, absolutely critical to steer your business. So we provide data through dashboards so you can understand your customers better. And obviously we always aspire to optimize our product and innovate, bringing you guys the new tools. In terms of how we see payments evolving, so there is definitely an element about like the e-commerce world being more global, but also still having a very strong local presence. Belgium is a small country. I think it's been mentioned before that Belgium has been quite late to the game in terms of building brilliant web shops, but also thinking big. Our market is not just Belgium. Our market is the whole of Europe. Consumers from the Netherlands, from Germany, from France, from Luxembourg, from anywhere in Europe, and sometimes even further, are able to shop in your web shops. So we should be able to help them complete the process. Local presence is becoming more and more important. I think also that's one of the aspects of Corona. We see more people shopping locally, and that's both, and that has now also transferred to online, where lots of people try to help the community of businesses who are struggling during Corona. Shopping on mobiles, it's ever increasing. Mobiles are being used to pay. I lived for a long time in London, and literally I never use my wallet anymore. It's everything is on the mobile, being it like tickets for the train, shopping, contactless payments, online payments. The mobile is the device to do it all. Having more options to pay, absolutely critical, and also creating personalized experiences, putting your brand first into the website. That's how we see payments evolving. And the best experience, I think, is if you compare things like Uber, where you don't even know that you're making a payment, where the payment has become completely invisible. That's the kind of experience that we try to also help our customers with, also in web shops, where it becomes extremely seamless to make the last step in the purchase. There's lots of data on this, but as I mentioned before, this is probably the whole field of where the consumers can come from. There are no borders when it comes down to e-commerce. The only challenges you have is making sure your shipments can reach the consumers. So definitely makes sense to work together with companies who can ship fast into different international markets, but also making sure you offer the right payment methods. I'll touch on that later. Local has become important. So when Corona hit, we've enabled lots of new web shops to establish a presence. So we supported with some sponsoring companies to get a website, so companies that were offline only and that needed to switch to online because their shops were closed. So these are a couple of examples of companies that we've sponsored to through the web agencies, and you can see the names of the agencies, so eSigns, Quoted, and ThinkEdge. So we sponsored those companies to help build the website. And we've seen that this has been a major driver for growth. So in terms of number of customers that have joined Molly, so those numbers have gone up 300 times since Corona. So it has been extremely busy, which also, of course, is putting a lot of pressure on our own organization. But we felt it's absolutely critical that we contribute to letting those businesses have a chance to survive by moving them to online. Mobile shopping, as I mentioned before, so here you can see some graphs. On the left-hand side is what percentage of people have used their mobiles to buy products in the last 12 months. So it's a significant number. Belgium is at the bottom of the list. Probably doesn't surprise us. But it shows a potential, and still half of the consumers in Belgium are using the mobiles, and of course tends to be the younger generations first. So there's a huge potential, and there's a huge request for web shops to really make sure your web shop is really effective and optimized for mobile, as is your payments, which I'll touch on a bit later. And also, if you see like what people do, how people shop, the preferred channel for financial transactions, again, Belgium is on the bottom of the list. But if you just look at China, where this is going, you can just expect in a couple of years, we will have also moved much more to the left than what you can see at the moment. So here again, I think it's a matter of making sure your web shop is ready for the mobile revolution. Personalized experiences. People are, I think, moving away from having like just a very plain experience from like a huge chain where everything is the same. You see that in restaurants where in the past, like big restaurant chains were very popular. Right now, I think people are going much more for local experience. Of course, not at the minute, but when restaurants open again, we'll see that again. So you can see some of the comments here, but being able, you as a retailer, to really identify the individual preferences of your shoppers is absolutely critical, and you need a lot of data for that. That's data that can come from your CRM, the data that you can get from your shopping cart system, but there's also data that we can help also provide as a payments company, because we obviously see all the transactions that you make. So those are a couple of trends that we see, and then I'll quickly browse through some of the ways Molly tries to help. So first of all, we talked about expanding your consumer range beyond just Belgium, and that you can easily do by also offering the payment methods that are relevant for the consumers in different countries. So as we know, on the next slide, I'll show you, like, this is just a couple of stats, but in Belgium, obviously, we all pay by bank contact. It's by far the biggest payment method. In the Netherlands, it's ideal. In Germany, lots of people pay by so forth. The SEPA direct debits are really big, but also paying on invoice is absolutely huge in Germany. In France, it's carte bancaire, it's massive. PayPal is huge in Germany, for example, as well. So it's important to offer all these payment methods. And it's important to offer them in a way that you don't bombard customer with too much choice, because too much choice leads to lower conversion. So it's important to offer the right payment method based on the profile of the consumer. So Molly has a huge range of payment methods, and we can help you select which one is right for your company. So this will help conversion, but it also will attract a lot more consumers to your shop. So if consumers know that they can pay with their preferred method, they will prefer your shop over another shop where it's impossible to pay, for example, by PayPal. Going back to the local team. So another innovation that we've made is we've started enabling meal vouchers and eco checks on websites. This was, of course, a payment method that was only possible to use in physical stores, and with, of course, consumers not being able to reach physical stores for a very, very long time. Lots of those eco checks have been unused, and as we all know, they expire at some point. So we've made it possible to pay with eco checks and meal vouchers online, and we've seen a significant interest in that. So we also expect that this will help shoppers to make more purchases, and this is a great way of consumers, Belgian consumers, supporting Belgian web shops, because eco checks and meal vouchers are only available to Belgian citizens on Belgian web shops. And third point is then indeed making your web shop render very well on mobile. So here's a couple of examples how we've optimized the formatting of our payments pages based on the type of device that you use, being it a phone, a tablet, Android, iOS, whatever. So it's really important that your checkout is seamless and it's really suited to the device that people use. There are things we can help with, for example, like identifying upfront what type of card the consumer is using, which we've also seen has an impact on the conversion rate as well. If there are errors, if the consumer is typing errors in the card, it's something we can check instantly rather than having to wait until they press the button to go to the next page and then see an error. So all these things really help a lot with conversion. We've also made a new innovation available as well. It's called Molly Components, and that allows you to have the full payments experience completely in the brand of your own web shop. So very often you see that the consumer is being redirected to a separate payment page. For example, when you go to an MBS, it's a typical example where you end up in a really, really, really bad looking experience. Where it doesn't look like it's an MBS anymore. It looks like a different environment. So consumers don't find it very trustworthy to be redirected. So what we've done is we've integrated completely the full payments experience in the brand, in the look and feel of the web shop, which we've seen on average increases conversion by 7% for certain payments. That means 7% more revenues for your web shop, which is absolutely relevant. Reporting, that's something that Money has always been very strong on. So making sure that you get visibility of all the transactions. You can filter by payment method. You can see it over time. You can see during the time of the day what's happening. So you can optimize, let's say, support or whatever you need to do. And also we can also give insights in terms of where things did not complete, where you had dropouts, and how you can improve those dropouts. And there's a lot of things you can do. I won't go to everything here, but fraud prevention is critical. Like to make sure you don't get caught on fraudsters with a loss of revenues and margins, but also trying to build relationship with your customers, getting to know your customers, knowing which payment method the customer prefers to use, and then put in a payment method on top of the list at the checkout. These are just a couple of examples on how we can provide a much more personalized experience. And a couple of innovations. Apple Pay, again, huge in the UK. It's getting into the European markets as well, but this is a very smooth experience. So you also have Google Pay. Apple Pay is an example, of course, for Apple devices, where it's with just a couple of clicks, you can seamlessly make a payment, both by shopping on the mobile, but also if you shop on the website through an Apple MacBook, or even just using a mobile phone. You can use Apple Pay with, let's say, cards that have been stored previously to make a very safe and secure transaction. I think one of the things that Belgian consumers like a lot from Bancontact is that because it's so convenient to use, compared to cards where you still have to sometimes use the little device to get the code or to log into your bank account. Apple Pay and Google Pay, they completely make that step redundant. So because the cards have been saved in a secured way on your mobile phone, the checkout is seamless. And there are a lot of benefits of paying with credit cards. For example, if for consumers, if a merchant would have trouble delivering the goods, if a consumer does not receive them, or if the merchant ceases to exist, goes bankrupt, then the consumer is protected by using a credit card for the purchases. So it's interesting to see that in Belgium and also in the Netherlands, credit cards have not taken off as much because we had a great experience on the local payment methods. But there are some innovations happening that are removing those barriers. And I think this summarizes it. So so this already is out today. I think this is what we published a couple of weeks ago. But we at Molly we try to help our customers grow. We try to work with as many customers as we can. And at the moment, we have over 80,000 businesses trusting us. So looking forward to also see how we can help support some of the web shops present on this call today as well. That's it. Any questions? Or do we do questions later? Happy to take them anytime.
That was super interesting, Ken, and it is exactly important that there's no friction in the payment and that that technology moves on. And it's exactly true. If you do an Uber, you don't know that you make the payment, while you do know how much you pay. So it is very frictionless. And that actually, if there's no question, it brings me back to Omar. You do hear me? Yeah. Omar, is there any, can you explain us a little bit which parameters we are using in the Shopping100 to measure the digital footprint? Is that possible to just give a little bit on the technology? What are the parameters to make a digital footprint, and on which you have been based the ranking?
It's a combination, Sophie, as such, and not all parameters are being published very explicitly. But basically, we're looking to SEO, SEA, we're looking to traffic on our website.
Can someone turn off the sound? I mean, I hear tapping. That's yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
But also, we're looking into backlinks. In my humble opinion, I think backlinks are the most underestimated element, often to understand how you can improve. Not because you want to use backlinks to game Google or something, that's not going to work, but more backlinks are a proxy for stakeholders and for ecosystems. So if you understand the ecosystem stakeholders for yourself and your competitors, gives you insight and ways you can improve. For instance, you can find out where your competition is being mentioned, get exposure in media, and see if you can replicate that or can improve on that. So in general, there's a number of elements that you can dive into. We give the dashboard on the guides level, but of course, there is always a need to go behind that number and see where you come from, what does it mean, and how you can improve that as such. But my single recommendation is to pay much more attention to backlinks to get insights in stakeholders around any company out there, your competition or other alternatives. That's the one I would go much deeper onto.
It is a bad connection. I don't know where the tapping comes from or the sound answer. Did you all understand what Omar says, that the backlinks are so important? Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm happy to repeat.
Yeah, it is a really, yeah, it must be a bad connection coming. I would say, so the backlinks in total, so that's that these are sources. How can you? Did everyone hear? Yeah, now the sound got away. I would say, please, by all means, I see several of our webshops participating. Maybe you have some questions in the line, or to shoot to Omar or to Ken, or to even to people. But I would say go ahead. I see in this top 50 of the BeCommerce community, where everyone made progress. So yeah, please go ahead. If you shoot a question, raise your hand, and then we give you to take the floor. No questions for the moment. I think so. The book is a digital version and has a print version. For those who are interested, they should shoot us an email. I said it in the window at info@becommerce.be, and we will do the necessary thing. It is always a work in progress. I think that's important. As technology continuously changes, the digital footprint of your web shop is also something which is always evolving. So it's a project which you should really look on it on a yearly basis, like, what has changed in the market, where is there room for improvement, and even if you acquire things, never take it for granted, and always look what the world in glass is doing, and how they did it. It is also important for this book that you realize that to excel is not a story far from your bed, and then it comes actually a little bit back to what Ken also says. I mean, your reach can be global, but you can be a local player. And that's actually what this book is about. It's a very democratic tool, in the sense that you don't have to be a big corporation with a huge budget to excel in your digital footprint. It is very important to record, and it's very important to know the parameters. And with these two things, you can measure. If you record and if you can track, then you can measure. And that's what this book is about. So we really hope you will use it. And actually, we've seen it of those in the top 100 ranking. Almost all Belgian DNA players made progress, and that makes us happy, because that means there's a drive to move on. And there's a drive to conquer markets, which we have to do. We have to believe in ourselves and say we can do this as well, and we can also enlarge our market, and by increasing our reach. So I would like actually to give the floor again to Michelle, maybe to round this up, and then we can hopefully stay in touch all, and hear from you. So Michelle, please.
Sure. Thanks. But it's obvious that the study will provide a lot of insights for everybody. I can only invite you to read the study and take the benchmarking and learn from what your peers are doing, and then as a sector we will benefit from it. And thanks for participating in the call.
Absolutely. Omar, you wanna say something else also to round up, please? I think Omar has left us, or is unmuting him. Then Ken, you wanna take one last word to round this up?
Yeah. So I think indeed we have a great opportunity here with our web shops in Belgium to really start taking more of a lead. There are lots of tools available. I think the BeCommerce study is a great start. I think also the community knows a lot as well. I think your fellow web shops that are successful are great resources. Of course, companies like Molly can also help as well to to give advice, but I really encourage to think big, because lots of the competitors in other markets are thinking big, and it would be just a missed opportunity for our web shops to lag behind.
That's super. Omar, are you still there or not?
Yes, I am.
Okay, then I give you the last word. Okay, okay. We're running up. You want to say one last more thing?
Sure. I think that the key element is for all of you to come into action, to take today a strong digital position out there will be much cheaper, much easier than 1 year from now. It gets always harder and harder. Look to your SEA budget. You will always pay more to Facebook and to Google over time. So make sure that you take the opportunity of today. It will be much cheaper, much easier than if you delay it in months and even years. So don't just look to the guide, make it a working book, something practical to guide you, to help you to get there. And the earlier you start applying, the better. And like Sophie was saying, it's a never-ending story, but that's how a business is, that's how competition is. But it's a good thing because all together we get stronger by the day.
Okay, then I thank you all for participating. Just don't forget also to register for the next webinar, which is on June 25th, where we explain more our latest market monitor figures, where we of course indeed noted a huge volume in products online, but at the same time services were going down. But so I invite you all to have a look on the website and register for that webinar as well. The two, knowing what the consumer is spending and knowing your own digital footprint of the web shops is amazing, and it gives a lot of insight information to move on. So again, thank you all, and don't hesitate to get back to us or to Michelle or to Omar or to Ken later on if you have more questions. Thanks all, and have a really nice day. Okay, bye. It's a sunny day, so let's move on. Okay, bye bye. Thank you all.